Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Welcome to Brilliance Business TV, conversations with leading experts in business. I am your host, Mark Stephen Pooler. We have a wonderful guest on the show today, the incredible Louise Timmins. Now, we have all heard of leprosy, and Louise is on a mission to make it end. So I'm really looking forward to a conversation with Louise today. And I just want to make an official shout out to our show sponsors, Dreamweaver, Artist Ranch. We are streaming live on mspnewsglobal.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, and we're also on the E360 TV network under Fresh Takes, going out to Apple TV, Fire TV, Android TV, Roku, and many more. And we're also on Business Innovators Radio Network. So let's bring in our incredible guest, Louise Timmins. Welcome to Brilliance Business, Louise.
Oh, thank you so much, Mark, for having me today. It's an honour to be here.
I'm really looking forward to a conversation with you today, Louise, all about leprosy. First of all, let's just share a little bit about yourself, the charity that you are in, and a little bit about the work you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So I work for the Leprosy Mission. It's almost 150 years old as a charity. I look after a fundraising team of around 25 people. I am married with two amazing children. My little girl is from Nepal, adopted, and my son is half Afghan and half Lithuanian. But my real heart is for people living in poverty, for people who are living with disease. So that's my job.
So let's talk a little bit about leprosy, Louise. I think first, can you just share a little bit about leprosy and what it is so that we understand that better? And also, I've heard a lot about it. Does it really still exist?
Well, that's the $1 million question. And when I tell people what I do, everybody always says to me, "Oh, wasn't that in the Bible? Wasn't it in Ben-Hur? I haven't heard of that. Does it still exist?" And sadly, it does. We don't hear about it in the UK because, of course, it doesn't affect us because it's a disease of poverty, which means that you find it in countries like India, Africa, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Brazil, countries that face the problems of poverty. And we can go out to these countries and we are not at risk of catching it because our immune systems are so high. So if you live in areas of overcrowding where there's poor sanitation and very low levels of nutrition, that's when you're more likely to contract the disease. And unbelievably, there are still over 200,000 people diagnosed with the disease around the world, and people are quite shocked when I tell them that. The disease itself, it's a bacteria. We still don't know exactly how it's transmitted, but we think it's by airborne water droplet, which is just like a cough, a simple cough. And the really exciting news, the amazing news, is that you can cure it very simply for £24 with a mixture of 3 antibiotics called multi-drug therapy. But the problem is that there is still such stigma in the countries in which we work against people with the disease that there's a terrible fear of coming forward with the early symptoms. People are worried about losing their jobs, losing their families. Some people, sadly, are still thrown out of their homes. In India, you can divorce somebody because they've got leprosy. And the problem with that is that if you don't catch the disease early, it affects some of the nerves in your body, which means, first of all, you lose feeling in your hands and feet. And you can imagine, when we're cooking and we might have a hot pan and we burn ourselves, we'd move our hands away really quickly because we'd feel the pain. But somebody who is affected by leprosy and is not cured quickly will burn their hands. They'll lose their feeling. They'll burn their hands. That can then ulcerate. There are also problems with clawing fingers. So your fingers claw in just like that. Now, you imagine if you were a labourer in a field, how do you hold a tool? How do you hold your child's hand? How do you look after your family? How do you even do basic things like do up buttons or go to the toilet? Some of the other things that happen is that you lose the feeling in your feet as well. So again, if you're in a country where you're walking with no shoes and a stone goes into your foot, for example, you don't feel that happening. And if there's no clean water to wash your wounds again ulcerate, they become infected and can lead to amputation, which of course then brings in a whole new problem of disability. And then the other thing that happens is that some people lose their inability to blink, which means, of course, that they face blindness without, being able to close their eyes through blinking. So it's a really horrific disease which can be cured so quickly. And so my job is to get this cure and to get the treatment out to as many people in the countries in which we work as possible.
So it's better to catch it early on.
That's it. Yeah, exactly.
The treatment's really simple. It just costs £24 of simple drugs. I think it's really sad, Louise, and it makes me realise how blessed we are in this country and many other countries that this isn't even an issue. Isn't that sad that just basic healthcare is not available to people? I think that is really tragic.
It is. And particularly, when I go out and I visit some of the hospitals that we work with and some of the communities, to see children affected by this unnecessarily really upsets me, and I have children myself, and as parents or grandparents or aunts or uncles, we can all identify with that, can't we? And we have a story in our latest campaign of a young girl called Shakti, and her leprosy wasn't caught in time, and she is now one of our hospitals in Nepal at Anandaban Hospital, waiting to have a prosthetic leg fitted for an amputated leg. And at 16, this has really stolen her hopes and dreams for the future, because she believes that, her dream of becoming a doctor will never happen now. Here we have all the opportunities, don't we? Having a disability in this country is really much less of a barrier to fulfilling your dreams. But in the countries where we're working, that just isn't the case in many cases.
And I just think it's tragic that this ends people's lives, because losing a limb, though it hasn't ended your life, that has ended so much of your life and the possibilities of the things that you can go on to do. Louise, I think it's so sad, and it's really great work that you're doing. Have you actually witnessed and seen leprosy for yourself, Louise?
Yes, I have. So I've been out to many of the countries that the Leprosy Mission works in. I'm in India more than any other country, because over 60% of all cases are found in India every year. And I guess what touches me the most is that it's almost not the physical side of the disease that hits people the hardest. It's the emotional trauma that it brings. I mean, you imagine if you have, been thrown out of your family and you lose all that you hold dear just because you have a disease that actually is curable. And I remember once sitting in a community, and the community leader was standing at the front of the little group, and he himself was very badly disabled by leprosy, had very badly clawed hands and disabled feet. And he stood up and he said, our friends don't want us anymore. Our families threw us out. The community doesn't want us. But you come here all the way from England and you sit with us and you love us, and you touch us. And touch is such an important thing, isn't it? There's another story of a man in a hospital, and the doctor came up to him and he put his arm around him and said, "I'm really sorry." He couldn't speak the language, but he was asking the gentleman with him to translate. Said, "I'm really sorry. I'm going to have to amputate your leg." And at which point the gentleman just burst into tears, and the doctor said, "I'm really sorry. Can you tell him I'm really sorry? I know this is, a huge thing to lose his leg, and this is terrible news for him." And the patient said in response, "My leg is, I know my leg is useless. I knew that I was going to lose it, but I'm so happy that somebody's put their arm around me. You're the first person that's touched me in years." And you can imagine the effect on mental health of that, the isolation and the loneliness and the rejection. And that's another thing, obviously, that we're working towards ending with education.
I just think it's so sad that in today's world, no one should have to suffer like that. And how is it with the countries themselves? Are they striving to do more for it, or is it just too poor that they can't do these kind of things, Louise?
Well, where we can, we work with local government, and there are some governments that are incredibly helpful and will work alongside us. But in many countries, because of cultural beliefs, because of religious beliefs, leprosy is just not touched. People can go to hospitals, and even doctors will say, "I'm not treating you because I don't want to go near anybody with somebody affected by leprosy." And people think it's a curse. They think it's a sin from a former life. And that's a very tricky, cultural issues are very tricky to get over.
Yes.
Because they're ingrained beliefs that, will take a long time to break.
Louise, I thoroughly enjoyed having a conversation for part one. Let's just go to a commercial break. Please stay where you are. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for part one of Brilliance Business TV. We're in conversation with Louise Timmins, and we have been discussing ending leprosy. Stay tuned for part two.
Hello everybody, Cyberchuck 2.0 here. I'm so excited to be able to share my vision of Dreamweavers Artist Ranch. They say you can't choose your family. Not only am I saying you can choose your family, you get to thrive with your family here at Dreamweavers Artist Ranch. It's a place for like-minded individuals to come together to share experiences and gain experiences, not only through workshops, through performances, and through exhibits. This is a place where you can disconnect from the outside world and reconnect into a community of people that there is no judgment. There's only support. And this place is an amazing place to grow and to tap into your highest potential and to be able to show off all your talents. This is a place you can come and network and really thrive. I'm so excited for Dreamweavers Artist Ranch. This is a place where dreams actually come true. I love you all so very much. I'll talk to you all later. Peace.
Welcome back to Brilliance Business TV, conversations with leading experts in business. We're in conversation with the incredible Louise Timmins, and we have been talking all about leprosy. Louise, tell us about the Leprosy Mission and what that does.
Okay. So as I mentioned earlier, we're a very long-standing charity. We are the leading leprosy charity in the UK. And so we work with people out in the countries, in 10 countries across Asia and Africa, not just providing the cure for leprosy and prosthetics and physiotherapy and everything on the medical side, but we also have a very holistic approach, because we don't believe that it's right to heal somebody and then just let them go back into their situation. So we have lots of really amazing sustainable programs. We run vocational training centres for young people people who have missed education because of leprosy, training them in a skill and then helping them to get a work placement. We build low-cost homes. We put in clean water supplies. There's so much that we do to build community. We also do a lot of advocacy work. We were talking earlier about working with the government, and so we help. We give a platform to people affected by leprosy to be able to go and speak to their local government to say, look, I need electricity. We need electricity. We are entitled to small disability pensions. We need a road coming into our leprosy community. So that's a big part of what we do as well. We in everything, you know, the people that we serve, our beneficiaries, whichever term you want to use, everything is about them. We don't do anything without them. So they're very much involved in the design of all of our projects, in all of the reporting. They're key people. They're the people that we serve. So we include them in everything. And the great thing about the Leprosy Mission is that we're not going out into these countries and telling people what they need. We have staff in country in all of the countries that speak the language. They understand the culture. They understand the situations. And so they sit down with the communities, and the communities themselves decide what they need at that time and what's best for them.
Such rewarding work what you're
amazing.
doing.
I love
rewarding. What is the biggest need right now, Louise?
Okay, so we need to continue with our pioneering research to end leprosy. That's key. Obviously, we still need to look after the people who have this disease and the people who are living with disability and their families. But the biggest thing right now for us is research. And we have on the top of the world, on a mountain at Anandaban in Nepal, the most amazing research team who are they're so pioneering. They work so hard, and they're seeing amazing breakthroughs. Already they found a special treatment which heals ulcers. We were talking about ulcers a little bit earlier. Yes. On feet at rapid time. So normally, if you get a foot ulcer, and they're horrible, really big injuries on the bottom of your feet, it can take months and months to heal. Now, if you think that you're a farmer and you work on the land and you work hand to mouth, you are not going to come into hospital for months and months because your family will starve. But this amazing treatment will see ulcers healed in around just a few weeks now, which means that we're able to treat people and get them back out and working in record time. And it's breakthroughs like that that are transforming the lives of people affected by leprosy, not just in Nepal, but around the world. Now, our research centre in Anandaban was really badly damaged in the 2015 earthquakes. I don't know if you remember the earthquakes on the news in Nepal, and thousands of people died. It was a really tragic situation. So it's crumbling. The staff in there are quite fearful. Whenever there's a tremor, they're worried that it's going to collapse on them. It's too small and it's not fit for purpose. They are managing, but we have a real problem in that the Nepali government will be going in to do an inspection soon, and they will close the centre down because really it's not safe and it's not fit for purpose. So we have a huge challenge now. I always think it's like Mount Everest because we're talking about Nepal, to rebuild this centre. And we need to do that in the next couple of years. So that's the biggest project that we have at the moment, so that we can continue this amazing research. And we've got an appeal out at the moment. You can find that on our website, and we'll give that a little bit later. But £36 pays for 5,000 bricks. I mean, how amazing is that? And people can get involved, and you could be building the foundation of the end of leprosy, which would be such an amazing thing to do.
I agree. And you have a special link with this country, don't you?
Yes, I do. I have a particular love for Nepal because I adopted my little girl from Kathmandu in 2011, and we spent our first month together as a family, my husband, myself and my daughter. there at an Andaban hospital. So we spent a month in with the wards and in with the staff, and we were welcomed like family members, and they treated Marika so well. She was very malnourished and full of parasites and not a well little girl at all, but they treated her and took her in. And that's the thing with an Andaban hospital. It really is a family, and there is so much you can feel the love. It's very tangible on the wards, with the doctors, in the surgery, in the surgeries that go on in the prosthetics clinic. Everything is done with such love. And that is so important, because people affected by leprosy very often have always been treated with hatred. So the acceptance there is something really special.
And was it an easy process to adopt your daughter, Louise?
No, it was a really long and very difficult process. It took 6 years from beginning to end. So we started in the UK, going through all the processes, and anybody that's gone through adoption will know what that entails. And we got everything ready when we got through the system and decorated the nursery, etc. And then all of a sudden, Nepal closed for intercountry adoptions. So we had a very long wait until it opened again. But I remember at the end of 2010, getting a lovely picture come up on my email while I was actually at work from a very special friend who runs the Leprosy Mission Nepal in country, of a little girl with a little note saying, "This is going to be your daughter." And so you can imagine, after 6 years, we were just so emotional and so gobsmacked. And then 6 months later, we went out to meet her for the first time. So really amazing experience. Very sad in many ways, because she was one of 8 little babies lying on a wet mattress with, so much need. And I wanted to take them all. And I do like to go back to the children's home whenever I'm in Nepal, just to visit them. But, there's so much need everywhere, isn't there? But if each of us can just do our bit, one thing, it makes the world a better place, doesn't it?
And how old is she now, Louise?
She's actually 12 next month.
Oh.
So she's been sharing her story a lot on social media, through me, and on the radio, as she knows the problem of leprosy, and she understands where she's come from. And obviously I talk about it a lot at home.
Following in your footsteps.
Well, we'll see. But yeah, I just, when I look at her, I think, I think of Shakti, the girl we talked about who'd lost her leg, I think that could have been Marika, because every child has the same potential, don't they? If they're given the same opportunity. And so that spurs me on, really. I look at my children and I think, thank God, they're in this country and they're safe, and they won't face some of the terrible diseases that so many children around the world face, especially leprosy.
I have thoroughly enjoyed learning all about leprosy. It's really opened my eyes, and I understand a lot better now. My last question, Louise, how can people help? Okay.
Well, as individuals, we can all help. You can go to our website, which is leprosymission.org.uk, and donate. I've mentioned 2 amounts already. £24 will cure somebody affected by leprosy, but £36 will buy 5,000 bricks and get us on our way to rebuilding our research centre. We also work with trusts and foundations, helping these organisations to sort of meet their trustee objectives. So we'd love to hear from you if you're a trust and a foundation and are interested in overseas development. And 2, we work with businesses, helping organisations to meet their CSR goals. We do a lot of that now. And companies, it's not just about financial donations, it's about partnerships. So you might want to volunteer or visit a project, or get involved in a different way. We can also come and speak at any of your groups and just, teach employees or teach your people a little bit more about leprosy and the needs actually in the wider world, because sometimes I think we can be very inward looking, can't we? And there is so much need in the UK, without a doubt. But it's just on another level when we look at, some of the countries affected by leprosy.
I would encourage everyone, get involved, help end leprosy. Please donate at www.leprosymission.org.uk. Donate at www.leprosymission.org.uk. Once more, www.leprosymission.org.uk. Louise, I thoroughly have enjoyed having a conversation with you today. Thank you so much for sharing about this incredible mission that you're on. Also, congratulations on the success that you have already brought to the charity. That's a big number that you helped achieve last year. Tell us that quickly.
Yeah, so it was an amazingly challenging environment last year. We did see in the sector that so many overseas charities, smaller ones particularly, were having to close. But we are so fortunate at the Leprosy Mission in that people, our supporters are so very faithful and they continue to give. And we're not talking about incredibly wealthy people either. We're talking about people who just give £10, or we have people who sellotape £1 to an envelope and send it to us every week. But that amazing amount, along with our trusts and foundations and some of our government funding as well, just makes our work happen. So and it's important too that we value our supporters, and that's part of my job as well. So I make sure that we don't just take, we also give back in terms of feedback and stories, and we show people how they've made a difference. And we spend a lot of time on the phone talking to people as well. That was particularly important over lockdown. You know, when people were feeling so isolated and struggling with mental health issues, etc. It was lovely to be able to chat to so many people during that time. And help them too.
And as you mentioned, it's not how much you give, it's about giving what's comfortable to you, whether that's £5, £10, or if you can afford more, but every little helps. Louise, absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on to the show. I thoroughly enjoyed having you as a guest today.
Thank you so much, Mark.
The pleasure's all mine. Thank you everyone for watching Brilliance Business TV, conversations with leading experts in business. We have been in conversation with Louise Timmins, and we have been talking all about the Leprosy Mission.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.